Here with this week's hottest stories in the investment world, this is Zach's Friday Finish Line.
Hello and welcome to the Zach's Friday Finish Line. I'm Ryan McQueeney, a content writer here at Zach's, along with one of our editors, Maddy Johnson.
Hello, today is Friday, February 9th, and we live in currently a winter wonderland here in Chicago. It is snow.
Mm-hmm.
My feet have like sunk into, I can't, it's so much snow.
Oh yeah.
But we're not meteorologists, even though we like to talk about the weather. But we're here to recap this week's biggest stories from the investment and financial world. It has certainly been a wild week throughout the global stock markets. I haven't watched the Dow and the S&P and the NASDAQ composite more than I have this week.
Mm-hmm.
And volatility returned in a very big way. But later in the show, we'll look at the historic drop that has wiped away pretty much the year-to-date gains of our major indexes and brought fear back to the trading world.
Yeah, and before we do that, we have just a few other stories this week. Obviously, that's the big story weighing on everything else. But earnings season is now almost passed us by. We did have a few more marquee reports this week, just to touch on a few real quick. Disney beat on the top and bottom line and announced its new ESPN Plus streaming service, but apparently was not enough for investors, and the stock is down more than 5% this week. Meanwhile, Chipotle, a favorite of the show, topped earnings estimates, but comps of just 0.9% and no news on a replacement CEO sent the stock down more than 11%. Chipotle tanking double digits in what was a tough week throughout the markets. So not good for one of my favorite lunch spots.
Did I tell you that I actually tried the queso?
Did you like it?
I mean, I didn't think it was bad.
It was average queso.
It's cheese sauce, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'll be hard pressed to give me any sort of melted cheese that I don't find tasty. So,
I mean, right. It was a little grainy, so I did understand like that complaint. But I mean, when you put it in a burrito, can you really complain about the texture?
You'll hear no complaints from me about it.
All right. Anyways, moving on. Another earnings report from company Nvidia, which is a popular chip maker. They reported its latest quarterly results on Thursday afternoon. Shares are up over 90% over the past year. That was just heading into the report, and the pressure was on NVIDIA to deliver great results once again.
Yes.
Ryan, did they deliver?
Oh, yes. We have grown accustomed to just remarkable earnings reports from NVIDIA, and it was another one on Thursday afternoon. Company posted earnings of $1.78 per share, just crushing the Zacks consensus estimate of $1.16. Earnings were also up 80% from the year-ago period. Revenues came in at $2.91 billion, also beating our consensus estimate of $2.67 billion and expanding 34% year over year. I just want to highlight a few of the key divisions here. That core traditional gaming business, again, NVIDIA really a favorite for graphics processing units for PC gamers. The gaming division brought in $1.74 billion. That was up from about $1.35 billion last year. So everyone likes to talk about these crazy cool growth catalysts, the AI, the self-driving cars, all the cool, neat stuff NVIDIA is investing in and poised to be a leader in these emerging tech markets. Well, that foundation of the company, that gaming business, still growing at an insane rate. Impressive results there.
And just sorry to interrupt, NVIDIA does PC gaming.
Yeah, so
chips for PCs.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. They make they're called graphics processing units, GPUs, that are basically enable like high-end PC gaming machines to run brand new video games at like insane frame rates, super high def, all that stuff.
This also might be an obvious question, but does NVIDIA do any chips for mobile gaming?
So they have they do what are called system on a chip units that are like mobile computing processors. So not necessarily tailored to mobile gaming, if you will, but any sort of like mobile computing hardware uses the system on a chip units to kind of power them overall. So in a way, but it's looking at the gaming industry as a whole, we've really seen an explosion in PC gaming over the past few years. So that's been interesting to watch and something that NVIDIA has definitely benefited from. Looking at another kind of key growth catalyst for the company, data center revenues were $606 million in the quarter. That is more than double the 296 million that unit brought in last year. Data centers has been the strongest or the fastest growing segment for the company for the past few quarters, looking at triple-digit growth rates there. Just insane stuff. More modest growth from automotive revenues, which touched $132 million, up from $128 million in the prior year period. NVIDIA doing a lot of stuff involved with the automotive industry. It's Tegra processors, which are system on a chip units, as I described, are mobile processors that are used in like smart vehicle systems, but I do not believe those are lumped into the automotive revenues. That stuff we're looking more at like autonomous driving and whatnot. So, yeah.
Which company have they partnered with?
Better question might be which company they partnered with, because they've got a very long growing list of both car companies and other tech companies that they've teamed up with to create an alliance, if you will, of self-driving car tech. When you look at what companies are going to be powering the self-driving car revolution, if you will, not to get too cliche on you there, but NVIDIA is really going to be the chip maker, the go-to chip maker for at least this first wave of self-driving cars that are supposed to hit the streets within the next few years here, and have really just cemented their position there already. So yeah, taking a step back, just absolutely incredible numbers from NVIDIA. Again, this quarter, the stock was kind of dragged down from the sell-off that you mentioned that we're going to get to a little bit later, but a nice rebound in after-hours trading on Thursday afternoon. Stock was up more than 7.5% in the immediate aftermath of its report. So definitely, if NVIDIA has anything to say for it, this sell-off will be short-lived, but I guess, as we'll get to, no one really knows exactly where the bottom is yet. Moving on to another earnings report this week, and a little special event on top of that, the latest news from Tesla.
Oh, yeah. Tesla. Reported earnings this week as well. The electric vehicle giant, they posted an adjusted loss, no surprise there, of $3.04 per share, but that topped the Zacks consensus estimate for a loss of $3.19 per share. Revenues were $3.29 billion, but that missed our consensus estimate of $3.30 billion. Tesla delivered a total of 29,870 vehicles across its 3 production models during Q4. Combined Model S and X deliveries jumped 27% year over year to reach record quarterly sales. The electric vehicle company sold 1,550 units of its more affordable Model 3 during the fourth quarter, and Tesla expects to ramp up production through the first quarter of 2018 to about 2,500 Model 3s a week. Wow. By the end of the period, the company hopes to reach the 5,000 vehicle per week milestone by the end of Q2. Again, I would take these milestones with a grain of salt when it comes from Tesla. They sound fantastic on paper, and we really hope the company can achieve them, but they're a little sometimes idealistic.
Yeah, they're not
for
great
a company that
not
isn't good at reaching its goals.
Yeah, that 5,000 a week 5,000 vehicle or 5,000 Model 3 per week goal has already been pushed back, already didn't get to it as fast as they wanted to. So we've already shifted the goalposts enough on that. It's like we're playing a completely different game at this point. But
investors in Tesla, it doesn't really matter to them just because Tesla has been such a game-changing leader in the electric car movement. So if they have to move the goalpost a little bit more, then they're going to move the goalpost a little bit more.
Move them to Mars, maybe.
Move them to Mars. But Tesla shares are down more than 6% since the report. But it was an even bigger week for Tesla CEO and evil genius Elon Musk, who also watched his SpaceX company successfully launch its Falcon Heavy spacecraft on Tuesday. I know, Ryan, you watched it live. I didn't watch it live. I watched it the next morning on Good Morning America. Well, not the whole thing, but like the biggest parts of the launch. So the rocket's two-side boosters also successfully returned to Earth safely at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. But a third rocket, the core of the spacecraft, unfortunately crashed into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And the Delta Heavy carried a cherry red Tesla Roadster with a mannequin, and it drove into space. It was playing a David Bowie song
Space
while
Odyssey.
it was doing the Space Odyssey. The Roadster was meant to orbit Mars, but apparently its current trajectory will see the vehicle soar into a distant asteroid belt. Again, on Good Morning America today, they had an update on where the car was. It like you said, or like we mentioned earlier, it's not headed towards Mars, but it's like heading towards somewhere near Jupiter.
Yeah. Again, Elon Musk can't reach his goals. Can't even get
goals,
a Tesla Roadster to orbit Mars. Jeez, Musk.
But it's like almost like kind of surpassed its goals. I don't know if it can hit, or I don't know, get a good picture of Jupiter. That would be awesome. But I guess my question is, how has the car not fallen apart?
Okay, that's actually a great question.
And like started to freeze and just like
I don't know.
Fall off or was this a special car made for space?
Okay, so that's what they're not telling you is I'm pretty sure it's not just like a
normal Roadster.
From like Tesla factory to space Roadster. I think it's probably like more like a spaceship than you would think, and then they kind of maybe just built a Roadster around. I don't really know.
Because even the mannequin looks not frozen and secure in the car.
Because from my limited understanding of how space works, you can't just put regular things in it. Like things have to be like built for space.
Right.
Like you need certain protections from the harsh conditions in a vacuum, like in an actual vacuum.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's a regular Roadster. Maybe that's how nice Tesla Roadsters are. I don't know.
Maybe, but they don't even make them anymore.
They're coming back. So this is
quite the advertising campaign.
Yes, exactly. So that was with the Tesla, the semi-truck reveal. He did a classic like Steve Jobs-esque, but wait, there's more. And then they like whipped out a new Roadster model. And we're like, oh yeah, we're doing this too.
I actually did see a cool comparison where it was like the ET poster and then the Roadster with the mannequin next to like the picture of Earth. So it was very like culturally significant, like two culturally significant things. And you're like, well, that guy did it.
Yeah, and you know
He
what?
did it.
I'll tell you what. Elon Musk certainly loves to be culturally significant, if not just himself. But yeah.
And I loved how he was like, well, I didn't even think it would happen. Like I was like 50% like confident like it would actually work.
Okay, so that's the interesting thing here is basically at this point any old Joe Schmo can get a rocket into space. Like it's not super hard. I say that obviously a little bit joking because like I wouldn't know the first thing about it. But when we're talking about a successful SpaceX launch, this would I almost say like semi-successful, because the whole thing with SpaceX is they want the boosters to come back down to Earth so that they can land safely, so that they can reuse them. And when you talk about like commercializing space travel, being able to reuse the material is a huge step into making it more affordable, because having all the really expensive stuff you use to get to space just explode and how you have to build it again the price adds up after if you try to do this multiple times. So these two side, and they've got a couple of them to land nice and easy. These two side boosters landed nice and easy. And when you see those things come down on the live stream and you're like, oh my God, you're going to crash into Earth at a really dangerous speed. And then they just like slowly just plop right down onto the landing pad. It's thrilling entertainment. But the third one, the big one, the core of the rocket, if you will, just like it was supposed to land on a pad that was in the ocean and it just completely missed and was going 300 miles an hour and just exploded everywhere. So semi-successful because they did want that to survive and it did not. But
yeah.
There's a Tesla Roadster in space now, so that's something that's going to confuse aliens when they stumble across it. Because remember like a month ago when we were like, there's definitely aliens? Remember when NASA was like, we definitely know about aliens now, and then we
like
kind
that
of
weird like
asteroid
shaped thing.
In LA? Was it in LA that happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, our attention span is so short now as a culture that we've already moved past like crazy strong evidence for intelligent life.
Right.
Of
and
course.
Now we just have to wait for Jeff Bezos to do whatever he's doing with his rocket.
Yeah,
so Jeff, it's on you.
Oh man, I can't even remember the name of his company off the top of my head. Something that has to do with the word blue, I think. But I'm gonna get eaten up by my Amazon fans out there for not knowing. But okay, moving on because we don't know anything about space. We do know a little bit about the stock market, so we're gonna move on to more of our area of expertise here. So just glancing at basically every major index, you'll see that the year-to-date gains of these major market indicators have been completely wiped away. This market-wide sell-off began last Friday morning and extended into Monday. Monday, we witnessed the Dow shed as much as 1,500 points intraday. It ended up closing down about 1,175 points, which is actually its largest single-day point decline in history. Of course, the percentage decline, I don't even think was in the top 20 in history, but with the recent run-up, the percentage decline is probably the most important thing to look at, but still historic nonetheless. Anyway, we thought this correction was over in just a 2-day, after just 2 days. Indexes opened lower on Tuesday, but quickly rebounded a little bit. Wednesday, things seemed to be headed back in the upward direction, but then the red returned in a big way on Thursday. And taking a step back now, all in all, stocks down about 6.5% across the board over the past week. And now that we are on the other side of things, investors kind of left desperately searching for reasons as to why this sell-off occurred.
Yeah, so things all started after the release of the latest jobs report last week. So I guess we can kind of put the blame on that, but not really put the blame on that. I guess that's when the hesitancy started.
It was too good, if you will.
You're right, too good. That's a good way to put it. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics released really strong wage data last Friday. And that noted that the U.S. economy created 200,000 new jobs in January, which is great, really good. So the BLS also noted that wages rose by 2.9% on an annualized basis. This better than expected job and wage growth led to worries that the Fed will raise interest rates more aggressively than previously anticipated in order to curb possible inflation. We also witnessed the yield on 10-year Treasury notes soar. The yield would then hit a 4-year high of 2.85% on Friday before hitting a new 2018 high on Thursday of this week. So plenty of investors also blamed the impact of automated algorithmic trading for the sell-off. So algorithms that now control a large portion of trading are often programmed to buy and sell based on certain triggers like specific price points, and this creates a snowball effect during downturns.
Yeah, and kind of adding to that snowball effect was traders kind of desperately attempting to cover losses witnessed on multiple inverse VIX ETFs. In response to the craziness of this week, the CBOE's Volatility Index, which is the VIX, it's a really popular method of kind of gauging fear and volatility in the market. started skyrocketing, leading to chaos on the other side of things. So people who had been betting against volatility, these inverse VIX ETFs and ETNs, a couple popular ones like XIV and SVXY, and also SIV. These tools that are not really meant to withstand huge, massive one-day surges in the VIX. People ended up losing tons and tons of money, having large positions in these inverse ETFs, to the point where basically all of these products had to be halted. They basically went to zero. In the simplest of terms, they basically just broke and weren't meant for the way things were moving on Monday. Credit Suisse is the kind of publishing company, if you will, of XIV, and they came out on Tuesday morning, I believe, and just like, we're pulling this product for right now. Like, people used it the wrong way, people didn't know how it worked, and it broke, and people lost millions, probably billions of dollars doing that. And I think that kind of plays into what you were saying, Maddie, about this kind of technical aspect to the market too, where things are just kind of firing without too much human thought going into it. And that kind of all snowballed into what was a crazy mess. And then on Thursday, when the selling picked up again, I would say it was in response to that new yearly high, or that new 2018 high on the 10-year Treasury note. All in all, complete chaos, but there is a Tesla Roadster in space, so it wasn't too bad.
On the upside.
It wasn't all bad.
We put a car in space.
Yes.
That is in secret probably a rocket.
Yeah.
And not really a car.
Some sort of rocket
hybrid
ship car. Okay, let's go back to this for 1 second before we wrap up the episode. Can we agree that if you just plucked it out of space and put it back onto a road on Earth, it's probably not able to drive? It's not like, it doesn't have an engine in it, does it? No way it has an engine in it.
I don't know. And 2, is it still playing David Bowie's Space Odyssey?
On loop? Because that mannequin's probably getting bored.
And 3, is it even really playing David Bowie's Space Odyssey if there's no one there to hear it? Just putting that out there.
That's actually a really good point. Also,
it's like that tree. If a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to see it, did it really even fall?
If David Bowie is playing in space and the only thing there to hear it is a mannequin driving a Tesla Roadster, is it really happening? Yeah, I'll just say, we keep sending stuff into space that is just going to really confuse the hell out of aliens when they find it.
That's true.
Like, they're going to stumble across this car and
years.
just have no idea what's going on.
Right.
No idea. And we wrote on it, like, designed by SpaceX wrote on the like battery of the car or whatever, like, designed by Tesla, by humans on Earth or whatever. It's like, what do you think they speak
English? Like a time
English?
capsule.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So yeah, keep your eye on the volatility as things go ahead. Keep your eye on the latest news from Tesla, SpaceX, Nvidia, all the companies we mentioned today. That just about does it for us this week. If you feel like we missed anything, or if you want us to cover a different story, feel free to shoot us an email at podcast@zacks.com. We want to hear from you. You can also check out all of our other exclusive audio content at zacks.com/podcasts. Remember to subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you next time on the Zacks Friday Finish Line.